Have you ever stopped yourself from doing something, not because you didn't want to do it, but because you started thinking about what someone else might say? Maybe you wanted to change your appearance, start something new, speak up, set a boundary, leave a situation that was no longer good for you, post your work, fly for an opportunity, or simply live your life differently. And then that little voice appeared. What will people think? What if they judge me? What if they laugh? What if they don't approve? What if they think I've changed? What if they think I'm not good enough? And suddenly, something that belonged to your life became a decision controlled by someone else's opinion. But here's the truth I want you to remember today. You can spend your entire life trying to be acceptable to people who are never going to understand you anyway. And while you're busy managing their opinions, your own life is passing by. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to stop caring so much about what other people think. Not by becoming cold, arrogant, or insensitive, but by becoming secure enough in yourself that other people's opinions no longer control your choices. Because you don't need everyone to approve of your life. You need to be able to live it. Why do we care so much about other people's opinions? Let's start with something important. If you care what people think, that doesn't automatically mean you're weak. Human beings naturally want acceptance. We want to belong. We want to feel respected and understood. The problem begins when other people's approval becomes more important than your own judgment. You start asking, will they like this? Instead of, do I like this? Will they approve? Instead of, is this right for me? What will they say? Instead of, what do I actually want? And slowly, you stop living from your own values and start living from an imaginary audience in your head. Sometimes that audience isn't even there. You're worrying about conversations that haven't happened, judgments nobody has made, criticism nobody has expressed. You're predicting rejection before anyone has rejected you. And that can keep you stuck for years. Realize that people are not thinking about you as much as you think. Here's a liberating truth. Most people are busy thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their own relationships, their own finances, their own appearance, their own mistakes, their own problems, their own future, their own insecurities. You might spend 3 hours worrying about something embarrassing you said yesterday. Meanwhile, the other person may have forgotten it 5 minutes later. Think about your own life. How often do you remember every little thing another person did last week? Probably not very often. And that's exactly the point. You're giving other people's opinions enormous space in your mind while they may be giving you almost none of theirs. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, everyone is going to notice, ask yourself, are they really? And even if someone does notice, does that mean you have to change your life because of it? No. Stop making every opinion a fact. Someone's opinion about you is not automatically the truth about you. Read that again mentally. An opinion is an interpretation, not a fact. Someone may think you're too ambitious. Someone else may think you're not ambitious enough. One person may think you're too quiet. Another may think you're too outspoken. One person may dislike your choices. Another person may admire you for exactly those choices. If you try to satisfy every opinion, you'll eventually become a different person for every person you meet. And that's impossible. You don't need to convince everyone that you're good enough. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing. That doesn't mean ignoring constructive criticism. There are people whose opinions genuinely matter. A trusted friend, a mentor, someone with experience, someone who has demonstrated that they care about your well-being. Listen to those people, but don't give equal authority to every voice. Not every opinion deserves a seat at the table of your life. Stop confusing disapproval with failure. This one can change everything. Sometimes we think, if they don't approve of me, I must be doing something wrong. Not necessarily. Sometimes someone's disapproval simply means you're doing something they wouldn't do. That's all. You can make a responsible decision and still disappoint someone. You can set a healthy boundary and still make someone angry. You can grow and make people uncomfortable. You can become more confident and discover that certain people preferred the version of you who never spoke up. That doesn't automatically mean you've become selfish. Sometimes growth changes relationships, and that's uncomfortable. But discomfort doesn't always mean you're making the wrong choice. Sometimes it means you're finally making a choice that is different from what people expected from you. Stop trying to prove yourself to everyone. There is an exhausting trap many people fall into. They spend their lives trying to prove their worth, prove they're successful, prove they're intelligent, prove they're attractive, prove they're capable, prove they made the right decision, prove someone was wrong about them. But here's the problem. If your happiness depends on proving someone wrong, that person is still controlling you. Think about that. You may believe you're moving forward, but you're still moving according to their opinion. Real freedom comes when you can say, I don't need you to understand my decision for me to know that it's right for me. You don't have to explain every choice. You don't have to defend every boundary. You don't have to announce every goal. And you certainly don't have to win every argument. Sometimes the strongest response is simply, keep going. Build self-respect, not just confidence. Confidence is wonderful, but confidence can fluctuate. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you question yourself. That's normal. What you need underneath confidence is self-respect. Self-respect means you don't constantly abandon yourself just to keep someone else happy. It means you keep promises to yourself. You make decisions based on your values. You recognize when something isn't right for you. You don't repeatedly accept treatment that violates your boundaries simply because you're afraid someone might leave. And you don't need to become perfect before respecting yourself. You start where you are. Ask yourself, if I genuinely respected myself, what would I stop tolerating? And then ask, what would I start doing differently? Those questions can reveal more than hours of overthinking. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided. Have you ever explained yourself again and again because you desperately wanted someone to understand your intentions? You explain. They misunderstand. You explain again. They criticize. You provide more details. They still don't accept it. At some point, you have to recognize something. Understanding cannot be forced. Some people don't want an explanation. They want confirmation of the version of you they've already created in their mind. And if that's the case, explaining more won't necessarily change anything. You are allowed to say, I understand that you see it differently. And move forward. You don't need to turn every disagreement into a courtroom where you have to prove your innocence. Learn to tolerate being misunderstood. This may be one of the hardest lessons in personal growth. You will sometimes be misunderstood, even when you're kind, even when your intentions are good, even when you're doing your best. People only see portions of your life. They don't know every conversation you've had with yourself. They don't know everything you've experienced. They don't know every reason behind your decisions. And you cannot control the story someone creates about you. What you can control is how you live. So instead of constantly asking, "How can I make everyone understand me?" start asking, "Am I living in a way that I respect?" That question puts your power back where it belongs. Stop seeking permission to become who you want to be. Sometimes people wait for permission without realizing it. They wait for someone to say, "You can do this. You're talented enough. You're ready. You should start. You're allowed to change." But your life cannot depend forever on someone else giving you permission. If you want to learn something, begin. If you want to improve yourself, begin. If you have a dream, take the first step. If you want to become healthier emotionally, start making different choices. If you want to create something, create it. You don't need a unanimous vote from everyone around you. And you don't need to have everything figured out before you begin. Your life is not a group project. Use this simple test before making a decision. Here's a practical exercise you can use. Whenever you're about to make a decision and you realize you're worried about other people's opinions, ask yourself 3 questions. Question 1. If nobody knew about this decision, what would I choose? This removes the pressure of being observed. Question 2. Am I avoiding this because it's genuinely wrong for me, or because I'm afraid of being judged? Those are very different things. Question 3. Which regret would be harder to live with, trying and being judged, or never trying because I was afraid of judgment? Sit with that question, because sometimes the pain of regret lasts much longer than the discomfort of being judged. Start small. You don't have to wake up tomorrow and suddenly become someone who doesn't care what anybody thinks. Start small. Wear something you genuinely like. Express an honest opinion respectfully. Say no when you genuinely mean no. Stop explaining a small decision that doesn't require explanation. Post something you've created. Try something you've been postponing. Take yourself seriously. Every time you make a decision based on your values instead of fear of judgment, you're strengthening that part of yourself. It's like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Remember who pays the price. Here's something I want you to think about deeply. When you constantly live according to other people's expectations, who ultimately pays the price? You do. If you don't pursue the opportunity because you're afraid of criticism, you live with that. If you don't set the boundary because you're afraid someone will be angry, you live with that. If you don't start the dream because someone might laugh, you live with that. If you spend years trying to be the person everyone approves of, you are the one who loses those years. Other people may have opinions about your life, but you have to live it. You wake up in it. You make the decisions. You experience the consequences. You carry the memories. So your voice deserves to be heard in the decisions that shape your future. You don't need to become heartless. And let's make one thing clear. Stopping the need for approval does not mean becoming inconsiderate. You can care about people without being controlled by them. You can listen without obeying. You can respect someone without agreeing with them. You can accept criticism without allowing it to destroy your self-worth. You can apologize when you're wrong. You can change your mind when you learn something new. That's maturity. The goal isn't, I don't care about anyone. The goal is, I care about people, but I don't abandon myself to earn their approval. That's a completely different way of living. Your life will change when you stop performing for approval. Imagine waking up and realizing you don't have to perform anymore. You don't have to constantly prove your worth. You don't have to make every decision based on how it will look. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. You don't have to chase people who don't value you. You don't have to shrink yourself so someone else can feel comfortable. You can simply ask, what kind of person do I want to become? And then build that person through your choices. Not overnight, not perfectly, but consistently. Because confidence isn't created by waiting until you feel fearless. Confidence is created when you repeatedly prove to yourself, I can trust myself. So if you've been spending too much of your life worrying about what other people think, I want you to remember this. Someone will always have an opinion. Someone may misunderstand you. Someone may criticize you. Someone may not agree with your choices. And that's okay. You were never promised a life where everyone would understand you. You were given the opportunity to create a life that is meaningful to you. So don't spend your entire life standing at the door of your own future, waiting for everyone else to approve your entrance. Walk in, make the decision, take the opportunity, set the boundary, start again, become stronger, become wiser, become more confident in your own judgment. And most importantly, stop handing the steering wheel of your life to people who aren't even living it. You don't need everyone to like your path. You need the courage to walk it. And one day you may look back and realize that the moment you stopped asking, what will they think of me, was the moment you finally started asking, what do I want for my life? And that question can change everything. If this message spoke to you, don't just listen to it and move on. Choose one thing you've been avoiding because you're afraid of someone's opinion. Write it down, then take one small step toward it. Not because you have nothing to fear, but because your future deserves more influence over your decisions than someone else's opinion. And if you needed this reminder today, remember, your life is yours. Your choices are yours. Your growth is yours. You don't have to live it perfectly. You just have to start living it for yourself. If this video helped you, subscribe to Simply Beautiful Motivation for more videos about motivation, self-worth, confidence, personal growth, self-improvement, and becoming the strongest version of yourself. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, believe in yourself, keep growing, and don't let someone else's opinion become the limit of your life.